evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the City of Southfield regular meeting of the Planning Commission, July 24th, 2024. Could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Bernuti,
Present.
Commissioner Goodwin-Dye,
Present.
Commissioner Griffiths,
Here.
Commissioner Gruber,
Present.
Commissioner Martin,
Here.
Commissioner Willis,
Here.
and Commissioner Stevens-Gunn is excused. We do have a quorum.
All right. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
To the chair, motion to approve the July 24th agenda as provided.
Second.
Got a favorable motion to approve the agenda by Commissioner Martin, supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? All right, the agenda is approved. Are there announcements and communications?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
All right. The first address with 3 different items. There's a public hearing, conditional rezoning, public hearing, special use, and a site plan review, all for 19991 West 12 Mile Road.
Just a correction on that, the public hearings for this were held 2 months ago. This is actually just for final action to answer your questions.
Okay.
I
Excellent.
should have crossed that out on the agenda, but I just wanted to clarify, the public hearings were already held. in
Right,
May.
they were held on May 22nd, 2024, but the petitioner was directed to do a traffic study and review drainage issues on the site, so they're here tonight after Mr. Payson does a brief introduction to respond to those and share the summary of results from the traffic study.
Okay.
Given that it's been 2 months, I'll do a quick overview of the project, just to refresh everyone's memory, and then we can move on to the traffic study. This is on the corner of Evergreen and 12 Mile. It is, existing zoning is B2, planned business. There's proposed conditional rezoning to B3, general business. The conditional rezoning is actually, the use list is being limited to just gas station. It'll be like a single use conditional rezoning. They are have daily operations 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. They will have 6 full-time equivalent positions. It'll be max per shift, 1, normally 2 during shift change. Just a quick look at the current zoning, B2. As I said, that is proposed to change to B3. And future land use, which is similar, it's a local mixed use, which B2 or B3 would be consistent with. See if we need this to advance. All right, here we go. Current zoning, B2, these are all the uses that would be permitted in the B2. You know, it's a number of office and commercial uses, restaurants, and special land uses. With the proposed rezoning to B3, normally it would allow all these uses except for the conditional rezoning being proposed. They're all being crossed out except for gasoline station. So this will be, anybody who wanted to do another B3 use would have to come back and get this conditional rezoning modified in the future. Just a site aerial showing the corner where the existing branch bank is that's going to be demolished should this project be approved to produce the Kroger fuel. Some existing photos of the site where the branch bank is. Sorry. This is the site plan. You can see they've got a small kiosk in the middle where there'll be an attendant. You got your gas pumps, tanks are up there at the north end, a couple of parking spaces, a walkway over to the sidewalk and to the bus stop. This is actually the landscape plan. As you can see, there are trees and shrubs on the frontage, and a little bit of a landscaped area there between them and the interior drive, help control traffic movement. This is the floor plan of the building. As you can see, it's quite small. It's a cashier, office area, and a restaurant. Not much to it other than that. Elevations, you can see the canopy, the pumps, and the small kiosk area for the attendant. Side elevations. This is a rendering just showing roughly how this would look with the store next door kind of shown in the background, and off to the back there is the 12 Mile, you can see the former Huntington Bank across the street. The traffic study recommendations, I'm just going to summarize this. The traffic study was done by a traffic engineer. He had a number of recommendations. I put these on 2 slides, and then we have the traffic improvement plan that was provided by the applicant. First one was to add yellow crosshatching adjacent to the curb along the storefronts to further emphasize that this is no parking and no standing in that area. That is a fire lane. One of the problems is that people are stopping vehicles and getting out and grabbing stuff for like the Kroger, the Subway, Little Caesars. Upgrade the signage on that north side driveway to Evergreen. Right now there's one do not enter sign, I believe. They want to supplement the second do not enter sign on the other side of the driveway, wrong way signs on both sides to try to make sure people understand that that really is not ideal. A long-term mitigation would be to reconfigure the driveway as a right in, right out, and close the existing median opening located slightly north of the driveway where people are crossing over because that's why they're exiting there. I did talk to our traffic engineer at the city, and he agreed that that crossover location is causing a lot of unfortunate turning movements. And then when Evergreen is reconstructed at some point in the future, because it was done not long ago, he would recommend closing that crossover lane at that time. But like I said, Evergreen was constructed just a few years back. They probably won't be reconstructing Evergreen for a few years yet. Though in Michigan, roads are always up for reconstruction eventually. Number 3, they want to install a stop sign on the east side driveway approaching 12 Mile. It looks like that's just a missing stop sign. Install concrete bumpers along the grass area adjacent to the Tim Hortons parcel, which is on the other side of the shopping center, because people are cutting across the lawn area. You can see it. They looked at the whole shopping center comprehensively. Install pavement markings delineating all driveways, inbound and outbound lanes, and ensure all crosswalk markings are clearly visible, so all that needs to be refreshed. And create a larger striped area across from the Kroger entrance so that that is clearly not a place you should be parking or stopping a car. And also appear on the plan. Additional Kroger pickup signage to make it clear that if you're doing a Kroger click list pickup, you know where you're supposed to be, not in front of the store, in the actual pickup spaces. And no right turn symbol sign on the Kroger fuel station drive adjacent, so that they're not making a right turn into that entrance only. So this plan just sort of illustrates, you can kind of see where they're making changes on here. They've got it labeled and called out. The stop signs that are being added, the wrong way, do not enter signs, the no right turn signs, the added parking blocks, the stop sign on the 12 Mile. This is just a summary of those 7 interventions. You can also see that large bar area in front of the Kroger grocery store there to create that pedestrian crossing. And then the other pedestrian crossings are being in blue, are being enhanced. I believe the petitioner is present. If they'd come forward.
Ask the petitioner to approach the podium. Please give us your name and address for the record, and any additional information about the new traffic study information and the project that you can give us.
Certainly. Through the chair, my name's Matthew Pisco, representing the Kroger Company of Michigan. Appreciate the opportunity to present. Mr. Pazon did such a wonderful job on the traffic control improvements. There's not much for me to say, but I would like to bring up that we have the entire team with us: Garrett Foley from Kroger Construction, Zach, Caleb Stevens for Store Ops, Steve Russo from Colliers, who performed the comprehensive traffic study, Ron Hall, the property manager, and Mr. Benno, the owner of the complex. We took the recommendation seriously, and this reflects all of them, to help bolster the existing no parking fire lane signage. The yellow hatching didn't show up as well as we had hoped, but it kind of goes around the entire front of the shopping store, wraps around the sides. All the crosswalks are freshened, and then all the stop signs and the large path in front of the Kroger store, and then again additional signage at the northeast corner to replace the sign that was knocked down, restripe the direction, delineate the lanes, so people have a very clear understanding as they approach what the conditions are. And then a second set of do not enter signs on the enter only at the northwest corner. I know I was gallivanting around Ireland the last public hearing. I apologize, I missed it, but I'm glad to be back. One of the other issues was the flooding that occurred on the site, and the supervisor, the drain crew for the city of Southfield, Mr. Beck, had vac trucks at the site inspected the sumps, and all is clear. Should be no more flooding. So that was taken seriously and considered. That's really it in a nutshell. I don't want to keep any longer than we have to. We've addressed the concerns as it relates to internal site traffic. And if you want to get into a deeper dive into the traffic study, Mr. Russo is available, or any of the other folks from Kroger. But I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. I'd just like to remind the public that there was a public hearing held for this matter on May 22nd, 2024. At the end of this meeting, or towards the very end of this meeting, there's a public comment portion of the meeting if you wanted to add additional public comments on this project or any of the other projects. Tonight, that chance is coming up later on in the meeting. And I received, to my attention, I believe all the commissioners, we received a letter from Jeanette J. Eisenhower in regards to this project. So we're gonna hand that over to the planning department and to enter that into the public record for tonight's meeting also. I believe that's everything on here. So to the commission now, open up for discussion. If there's any additional questions or concerns based on the new information presented tonight, Commissioner Martin, do you have anything?
I have a question in that, if you go back to the service area itself, cashier and that, there's a restroom. Is that a public restroom or for the employee only?
It's employee only. Yeah, yeah, customers actually can't enter the kiosk. It's through a transaction drawer at the front, which is prototypical of 700 kiosks across the enterprise.
The traffic study.
Yes.
The traffic study primarily dealt with the traffic inside the Kroger area and the gas station, nothing with the street. Is that correct?
It took counts in and out of the approaches to kind of quantify peak trips. And the conclusion was it was a far less intense impact than if the bank were still open. So it really was inconsequential contribution to either Evergreen or 12 Mile Road, which much to our delight, it's what we expected. We're capturing 30% of our traffic from within, and then a great deal of the traffic that's coming is already existing trips. So we're not a big trip generator. So we were very pleased with the outcome that it's not impactful to either Evergreen or 12 Mile.
If I remember correctly, there were hourly increments or several hour increments throughout various, the days that it was done, but it was done on just two specific dates, I think it was?
It was on a Thursday and a Saturday to kind of capture the, unlike traditional go to work, come home, petroleum stations with a convenience store, our vast majority of our business occurs on the weekend, so we're kind of counter traffic for that business.
So, in essence, well, yeah, okay, thank you.
You bet.
Commissioner Willis.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. The first is, assuming a favorable response from council, when do you anticipate starting and how long will the project take?
It's probably 15 or 16 week construction duration. It's a little longer now because we have to raise the bank, which also has a vault, so there's a little hair on that. We would expect to break ground as soon as we can in spring when the frost laws come off. We can get trucks in. and start raising the bank.
Okay, thank you. And second question, the entrance road off of 12 Mile Road takes you into the parking. Is there a directional indicator that would say turn down this lane to get to the gas? Or anything that, or would they just wind up going through the entire lot to find it?
Through the chair, we could certainly, there's an island there that we could put a sign very much like we're doing for the pickup, that fuel would be this way, which would cue them west in that kind of central way. But we would expect that our customers, who are a vast majority of our business, are going to know where it's at, and they're going to cue to it from internally. And because we won't have any monument signs, the sign is on the back of the canopy. They'll be looking for it when they come out of the store. So hopefully that'll be a big indicator. And they'll be familiar with that like they are in many others. We're not big in the signs, but we can certainly put a sign, create one that says Fuel Center, turn right, and put it in that island.
Okay, are you suggesting it just may not be necessary, though? I recognize too many signs can also be a problem, but are you suggesting no sign should be there, we'll just kind of learn our way through it?
Our customers are smart. And we're going to be disruptive for months and months and months. There's going to be a lot of curiosity around it. If we can get temporary signage, we'll certainly put signage up around the construction fence, and Kroger Fuel will be coming soon.
Yeah, through the chair, just to clarify, only Kroger customers that have a card are able to use this gas station? It's not open to the general public, is it? Or is that just an incentive for cheaper gas?
Through the chair, Mr. Crow, that's a great distinction. We are not like Costco. We are not a membership club where you have to be a Kroger customer to shop at a Kroger fuel station. But if you are, at the bare bones minimum, you get a 3-cent discount per gallon of gas. And as you accumulate purchases up to $1, you can get up to $1 off per fill up to 35 gallons. So there's definitely, we're incentivizing our customers to be loyal, and we're providing an opportunity to save monies. If you're shopping at our grocery store, it's a benefit in another category, another convenience, which we're always trying to build as the grocery sector matures. We have to keep growing the business to try and figure out how to help our customers.
Okay.
So if I, just as a follow-up question, so what percentage of users of the station are non-Kroger, like just drive-by traffic?
I can tell you what comes off the lot is 30. I would have to defer to Mr. Russo as far as counts, but because there was the trips that were already on the street.
I think it's important just because, you know, some of the public have raised the concerns about 2 other gas stations on there. So it's not like it's not a full service open to the public gas station. A lot of those gas trips are coming from people already shopping there, but I think it's worth the distinction to at least give us an approximate on how many, let's call it pass-by traffic it would be using the fuel station. I think that's important to know for the record.
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, if someone else from your team has that info, if you could maybe.
Sure,
come forward
I
with
will
that.
invite Mr. Steve Russo up here as I'm reading through the traffic study now to say what the bypass trips are that would be feeding it.
Good evening, Commissioners. Steve Russo, Traffic Engineer at Colliers Engineering and Design. We did perform the traffic study for the project. Pass-by trips for the gas station, we are projecting per typical data about a 63% of traffic in the morning would be pass-by, and then 57% in the PM and Saturday peak hours would be pass-by, meaning cars already on the road, turn in, get their gas, and then kind of keep on going.
Okay. I guess the specific question was, non-Kroger customers, do you have any idea if there'd be a new, just as it compares to regular gas stations or whatever other competing gas station?
That I don't know that I would have a good answer to.
Okay.
I mean, I would think it would be typical. like,
I'm,
as far
I'm
as-
sure you track the Kroger points to know if you could get that information to us before the council meeting, just an approximate. Because even if it's 30%, that's 30% less additional traffic happening, right? Because they're already there for another, it's a different destination trip than just driving by. And if the concern is we got too many gas stations at that corner, it's increasing traffic, we'd like to know, well, actually 30% of all the people that use the Kroger station are already shopping there versus, well, you're saying around 60%. Okay, so I think that's the qualifier we'd like to know, or the metric we'd like to know before council.
Gotcha. So that, I actually, your number of 30% is exactly spot on. That I do know. So 30% of vehicles going to the gas station are also patrons that are shopping at the store at the same time. Like, so those are what we call internal capture trips.
Right.
So those are trips that are happening, kind of sequentially type of thing. They either go to the gas station and the store or vice versa. So
Okay.
yeah, that number, you are actually spot on. It is indeed 30% based on Kroger data that was provided.
Okay.
Through the chair, just a quick question since we have the traffic consultant here. I'm assuming most of your standard gas stations with C-stores, like the percentage of their customer traffic that is pass-by traffic is probably very, very high. Their destination occasionally, if somebody wants a gallon of milk or something specifically they're just running to the corner store for, but I imagine, do you have a ballpark on what the pass-by customer rate is for like a standard fuel station with curb cuts on the road?
It's slightly higher. I want to say, don't quote me on it, but I think just based, if I can remember correctly, I want to say it's in the neighborhood of like 10% higher of kind of those numbers I just gave you. So it's probably closer to like the 75% range.
Through the chair, if I could, I want to gild a little bit on our operations, but you can see that the kiosk is 198 square feet. There's no internal space for the customer. Our convenience store is a grocery store. The fuel station is actually a cash register that's tallied in the store, serviced by Kroger employees. We don't have coffee or any of the attractions that the other corners do that have a full convenience store. So our business model is different. We're more concerned about our Kroger customers. And to incentivize them with the cents off, that's really our market.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Deere.
Just two quick things. Do you have EV charging stations at this gas station, or it's just gas?
Through the chair, it's just gas. Kroger doesn't have a national contract yet. And if we did do EVs, it wouldn't be in the petrol station. We would bring it off-site and build a bank of parking spots so that if they're quick charge, that they can occur while people are grocery shopping.
Okay.
Which would be kind of the same model of they're going to come grocery shopping, get electrification, or they're going to come to the grocery store and get gas.
Okay, and the other thing, I just wanted to comment that the signage that says "Do Not Enter" was great, because now I think there's one small sign there, and so whoever did that, that's amazing, because I've been in that parking lot, and you barely see the sign that's there now.
Yep.
All right, Commissioner Goodman-Dye.
And I'm going back to some of the stuff that they've already talked about. So you're going to increase the pass-bys traffic flow into the store by about 30 to 40%, correct? That's not including the people that are shopping. Because you said it's about 30% of the, your people coming to the gas station are Kroger customers coming
Not
out.
only, if I can, they're not only, it's the 30% is not only their Kroger customers, but they're already in our parking lot. So they'll go grocery shopping, accumulate points, and then we can go to the fuel station or go to the fuel, get fuel, and then park in the grocery store field, and then go grocery shopping. So 30% are right off, we
Right.
have good counts on those.
So that means that an additional 20 to 30% more will be coming from just passerbys, correct? Because you gave us the amount of about 70 to 75%, correct?
So so right off the gate, like. he was
30%
saying,
off the 70.
30% are down, so we're down to 70%. And then for this particular, for the kiosk types situation, it's about 60-ish% that are assumed to already be out on either Evergreen or 12 Mile. And then that remaining 10% would be, kind of new traffic to the area. So in that case, that's why, when the question was brought up about operations on 12 Mile or Evergreen, it's really not a significant impact at all to those existing volumes on 12 Mile or Evergreen.
Okay, so I'm tying this into that do not enter,
Yep.
because you're still gonna have people that wanna go out of there, correct? I'm just being a typical person because I've made that same mistake and I went out that. Do not enter, okay? Because it's convenient. I would like to know if there's any way that you could make that cut a little deeper so that you can't turn out and you make that curve more cut this way so that if you want to turn out to go into traffic, you're going to have to go across a curb. That would, in my opinion, stop people from coming through there because you cannot go out there and make a right-hand turn because you have to go over a curb. Do you understand? You see what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Through the chair, we've got to get a tanker in and out. If we make the movements too steep, it can be problematic, get our truck in and out. We can put stop bars, we live in Michigan, there's snow. We can put precursors, I don't know how many ways we can show people. They're directly violating, there's 2 do not enter signs, and it's arrows on the pavement saying, this is an entrance only.
And the tankers, where would the tankers come in and exit?
Give me a moment. The tanker comes in the entrance only at the northwest corner. It goes in the eastern approach to the fuel station, circulates around the canopy, drops off the passenger side, comes back out, and then heads through the shopping center and departs on 12 Mile. So that entrance only is where our tanker's coming in.
Okay.
Or else it would have to drive in front of the store that's already very tight with all the pedestrian traffic, so that's the.
And truth be known, when the tanker comes in, Michigan allows 12,800 gallons in a tanker. You've seen them all, they're 5-axle, 2 floaters, and then a cab. It's a heavy truck. We don't want to circulate a full truck through the shopping center. We want the shortest, most direct path to get in, and that is by far, that's heavy-duty pavement already, and it can draw in there and circulate around the fuel station.
Okay, those are my questions.
Commissioner Bernardi?
Thank you. Pardon me, first and foremost that I'm concerned about is the heavy traffic in that area. You mentioned that it would be new traffic. It'll be 30% more traffic of people who are not even grocery shopping, correct?
I would say so. The percentages, I think, can be a little misleading. If we look at Table 1 and the traffic study, we are predicting, as far as new traffic to the area, we are projecting 28 trips in the AM peak hour and about 40 in the PM and Saturday peak hour. And by a trip, that definition is basically either a vehicle coming in or a vehicle coming out. So we have about 30 to 40 new vehicles that will either enter or exit the entire area as a result of the gas station, which by traffic metrics is really not very much at all.
Do you have any idea how long it takes for those tankers to be there and disrupting the traffic in that area? How long does it take them to complete a?
Through the chair, the tanker can access the site. It'll probably take a minute for them to pull in the fuel site, circulate, and then.
How long are they there at the station?
25 to 30 minutes, and they're far enough away from the approaches. They're parking at the north, between the back of the kiosk and the underground storage tanks, with enough room for people to continue to circulate around the site. They're not blocking any entrances or any of the grocery store parking. All that activity occurs within the fuel station parking.
So there won't be any disruption as far as blocking to those who are pumping gas or anything like that? 'Cause
They'd
it's-
fire me if that was the case. Yeah, we have to circulate the site and drop fuel and allow our customers to continue to operate and fuel.
And the other question that I have, how will those people who are shopping at Kroger's, how will they be impacted if you're having all of the machines and all of that noise and whatever going on while they're shopping? Will there be any, I know it's across the street, but will they be impacted at all?
I would say with a clear conscience, no. The fuel operation is very quiet. Unlike Speedway, there aren't music, there's no TVs on the dispensers. The only time there's any sound that you may hear would be if somebody calls for help, the attendant may say, "Do you need help?" and they would come out and assist. But there's no, the fueling operations are very, not only is it quiet, there's no smells. You know, we have automatic vapor recovery in most modern cars. When you drop fuel in the tanks, we extract vapors as product is being dropped into the tanks. It's really a very, very low impact effect on anyone.
I see. I appreciate you giving us the new traffic study, because that's my biggest concern, is that, and also the impact that it would have on property value possibly. And you said your station would only be for gas. I know the other stations there, they provide a lot of other amenities for the general public. And so this would just be gas and go, right?
It would be, and I don't want to misrepresent. You can get gum, there are cigarettes above the rack. I mean, there are small convenience items, but it is directly within the front of the kiosk where the attendant is. Outdoor sales are prohibited, and that's one of the conditions of the conditional rezoning. So we don't have anything on the outside like other petroleum stations may have, selling firewood or ice on the outside. We're a very, very low impact business.
And any idea how long it would take if you did do all of this work?
15 to 16 weeks to raise or to demolish the existing bank and then prep the site, drop the underground storage tanks in, and then get in utilities, and then bring in the kiosk canopy and erect it and pave, landscape, and ask for a certificate of occupancy.
Thank you.
Through the chair, just a couple of follow-ups. How many fuel trucks come per week on average?
One a day, I think, would be.
Okay, one a day.
Yep.
And then I thought you said earlier, regardless of your timeline, it probably wouldn't be till the spring of next year before you start construction. You may start demolition this fall.
That's correct. That's one thing we can work in.
Yeah, so I wanted to be clear that even though he said 6 to 8 weeks, it's not, the project probably won't be complete until next spring. And then if I could, while you have your traffic engineer, just review the difference in trips generated with the bank, with the drive-through versus what this is. What's the net increase, decrease for average peak?
looking change in, if we go off in new trips, from gas station to bank, we're talking about 12 additional trips in the AM peak hour and PM peak hour, and then only 4 during the Saturday peak hour. So very marginal increase as compared to what was previously there.
So I just wanted you to know that distinction. I know the bank has closed now, but when the bank was operating versus what this is, it's a minimal amount of increased trips.
And 12 trips is essentially 6 cars, one in, come in and go. Okay.
Yep.
This is confusing, as traffic studies always tend to be. All right. Thank you. Commissioner Martin, you had another?
You kept mentioning kiosks. I assume the customers would walk up to the window, pay, or pay at the pump itself? And if they wanted cigarettes or something that you said that they do have at the cashier, they would have to walk up there to?
That's correct. Traditional behaviors are people are going to try to do credit card reader if they're not interested in buying any of those sundries in the kiosk. But if they're having issues with their points, or they want to buy a lottery ticket or cigarettes or something, they would have to go to the kiosk. You can't call through the dispenser to interface. You actually have to go there to make the purchase. But I would say a vast majority of our purchases are direct card readers. They fill, close the cap, be out of the way.
Okay, and just so I have a clear understanding, you're saying for the fuel trucks, they'll come in the north entrance, which is now marked one way, do not enter?
Yes.
Yeah. Go in, do a loop around the gas station, and go out that northern driveway over to the 12 mile. And
That's correct.
okay, so they're not going to add to traffic on Evergreen northbound, because right now, one of the big issues is 12 mile and Evergreen, I'm sorry, and going northbound on Evergreen, you have traffic that backs up for the traffic light, and cars trying to exit Kroger's by the center or lower ramps or entrances and exits get stuck trying to get out onto the northbound Evergreen, either to go northbound or to make the northbound and then make the left at the Michigan left.
Yes.
To go around the island. That's where all the concern comes in. I understand your traffic study showing traffic coming in and out of the gas station, but it's not, you're saying the number of trips, the additional trips aren't going to impact that traffic that's already going to be backing up. Is that correct, Mr.? I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Yeah, no worries. Steve Russo. Yes, that is correct. So we went out there, we did counts on, I think Thursday, I forget the exact date, then we did another count that Saturday, and then me and someone else from my office, we actually went out the following Tuesday and Wednesday just to kind of observe site operations. So we've definitely looked at this area pretty extensively, and yes, it should not, based on our observations, we did see a little queuing along Evergreen Road, but we did not see it come back as far as, that, especially not that middle driveway to the south. We did not see it extend back that far. So, I mean, if this, there really shouldn't be much issue. Could look like cars were able to get out of there pretty easily. But again, to answer your question, this really is not, we're not adding very much traffic at all to this, so it shouldn't exacerbate anything.
And then too, currently, I guess between the hours of 3 and 5 is where we have the heaviest traffic flow there, and that's where we have the backup. So it's not going to impact that time of day very much.
Yep.
That's where you have the small number of,
Yep.
I think it's at 12 to 14 different additional cars coming in and out. Okay. I like the idea of the gas station. People talk about there being 2 gas stations there, and why have a third? Well, that's fine, but there are other corners where at one time in Southfield, there were 3 or 4 gas stations. At the corner of Telegraph and 12 Mile, there were 3 gas stations until Dreams took over and put a marijuana store in one. So, you know, I understand the issue, and I understand that there are other locations where the number of gas stations might seem high. But the other thing is that there are a large number of cars. Right now, Michigan has over 3 million cars, and on a daily basis, I don't know how many cars are going by that area. So, you know, the need for gas, as long as there's cars, there's going to be a need for gas. So, you know, it's a balance issue, and I just, you know, there's only so much you can do. Thank you very much.
I have no questions.
Any other additional comments?
Did Mr. Willis, did you have a question?
No,
Oh, okay.
no.
Okay. So regarding the public hearing conditional rezoning PCZR 24-0002, we have a planning department recommendation.
Yes, sir. I do want to note before we get into this is going back to, this will be in front of City Council next month for its actual final approval. For anyone in the audience who's concerned, this is not the final approval, this is a recommendation. It'll be back at council on the 19th for introduction, on the 26th for another public hearing. So there will be another chance for the public to get involved before this has final approval. We are making a favorable recommendation for the rezoning. It is consistent with the master plan. The proposed conditional rezoning with the restriction to gas station kind of takes a bunch of the potential concerning uses off the table. And it will require a execution recording of a conditional rezoning agreement subject to review and approval by the city attorney.
Okay. Thank you.
If we go through these one at a time and take a motion on each.
Yeah, so we'll have, there's 2 additional items here. If there's additional comments and questions that come up with each item, we could continue that. So the first item, the conditional rezoning, looking for a motion on that item.
Through the chair,
Yes.
move for favorable recommendation for PCZR 24-0002.
Second.
Okay, we'll get a favorable motion by Commissioner Willis, second by Commissioner Martin. And this is just for the conditional rezoning at this time. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed?
So,
4-2,
4 to 2.
motion
Okay.
passes.
So favorable recommendation on a conditional rezoning, 4 to 2. Any additional comments or questions on the special use portion of this was to be a gas station in the, which is the only allowable use in theory with the conditional rezoning? Any additional questions or comments? Commissioner Bernini?
No.
None, seeing none. Do we have a planning department recommendation on that portion?
Yes, sir. This is for the special land use, which specifically addresses the gas station use in a B3 district. Obviously, this would be conditioned on the rezoning being approved by City Council. Yes, it does appear to meet the requirements for special land use. We've got the size and character in harmony with appropriate orderly development of the general business district, location, size, intensity, periods of operation designed to eliminate any possible nuisance likely to emanate from the site in accordance with the principles of the sound planning and the chapter and the ordinance. Uses of such character vehicle traffic generated will not have an adverse effect or detrimental effect on the surrounding area, thoroughfares. As we've noted, the traffic impact is relatively minor compared to the prior bank. The proposed use of character intensity is not to have any adverse effects of noise, dust, dirt, glare, and odor and fumes. That was also commented on in terms of the fume capture and the fact that it is a relatively quiet operation. Proposed use promotes health and safety and welfare of the community, as Mr. Martin noted. Fuel stations are a necessity. Proposed to design, operate, secure, and safety for the employees of the general public. It is recommendations based on the documents, facts, and representations and stipulations based on the record. We do have a few conditions, one of which is obviously approval of the conditional rezoning by City Council, approval of the site plan by City Council, subject to the approval of a waiver by the Zoning Board of Appeals for the minimum floor area, and then compliance with the recommendations of the Corrigal Fuel Station traffic study, and then hours of operation daily 6 to 10, and continuous compliance with all applicable codes, ordinances, laws, and statutes and permits issued by the city of Southfield.
Okay. So looking for a motion now on the special use aspect of this, PSLU 24-0009.
Through the chair,
Yes.
I move for favorable consideration
I'm sorry.
of the PSLU 24-0009 special use.
Second.
Okay, we got a favorable recommendation by Commissioner Willis, supported by Commissioner Martin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
Okay, we've got four
Two?
yes and 2 opposed. Last item is the site plan review aspect of this project, PSP 24-0005. Any new questions or comments? My only comment is just remembering the previous version of this design that was on the eastern portion of the site. This just seems a lot cleaner. And there's been seems like a fair amount of improvements to this center in the 5, 6, 7 years it's been since the, I guess, failed attempt at putting a Kroger fuel station in this location. So I don't think this is a perfect site plan, but just keeping in mind that there was a bank, which is a busy use, and this small kind of kiosk-only model of a gas station seems very comparable, or I'm thinking a little less trips even, but you said a couple more. So I don't think there's a major difference in that. The site plan seems, it's a congested site, but I think you made the appropriate moves to make it as safe as possible. Planning Department, any recommendation on this one?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are making a favorable recommendation on the site plan review as well. We do note that it is designed in such a way that to avoid adverse impacts on adjacent properties and relate property to pedestrian vehicle traffic. It does have its access from major or secondary thoroughfares. And once again, based on the information before the commission, conditions will be subject to the conditional rezoning, subject to the special land use being approved by city council, subject to the zoning board approval, subject to the plans before you created by 7 Engineering, subject to the recommendations of the traffic study, and committing to implement any recommendations of the Southfield Police's Crime Prevention Bureau, and continuous compliance with all applicable ordinance, code, law, statutes, and permits under the city of Southfield.
Okay, thank you. Now looking for a motion on the site plan portion, which is PSP 24-0005. Can I have a motion, please?
Through the chair, I move for favorable consideration of PSP 24-0005 site plan review.
I'll second it.
All right. We got a favorable motion by Commissioner Willis, supported by Commissioner Gruber. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
Okay, we have 4 favorable and 2 opposed on this. Your next steps are on to the city council meeting.
Right, on August 19th. And I'm going to ask if you could provide us that truck circulation map to Mr. Payson as a slide. And I think it would be helpful, these photos in your traffic report, especially this one. If you could provide those as additional slides to supplement your recommended improvements on the site, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, thank you very much for your consideration, and to Mr. Crowe, Mr. Myers.
Next item is at 19111 West 10 Mile Road. This is a mixed-use corridor district rezoning.
Actually, the next item is item E. It is 21246, 8.5 miles.
Oh, yeah. I scribbled past that already on my agenda. My mistake. So this is the 8.5 mile and Midway rezoning project.
Yes, sir.
And just as a reminder, a public hearing was held on June 26, 2024 on this item.
As noted here, just a quick overview. We're looking at rezoning from R1 single family to RT attached single family. You've got the two lots on 8.5 Mile, which are the main subject property, and then a portion of the lot along Midway, which is under separate ownership, but that owner has agreed to participate in the rezoning to reach the minimum 1 acre to avoid a spot zoning situation, which would make this rezoning illegal under state law. Just a quick look at the zoning. As I noted, R1 zoning, moderate density, single family, is consistent with that, and potentially attached duplexes. Looking at the area here, a lot of trees, so it's a little hard to see what the ground profile there is. The two lots along 8.5 Mile, one of them is vacant, the other one has a home on it that's to be torn down. It's in poor condition. Some photos of the area. See the properties here on the one Midway, and then the property on 8.5 Mile. This is the existing zoning and after the rezoning request for RT. This is the applicant's preferred duplex site plan option. We wanted to evaluate this against the ordinance requirements to see how it would stack up. This is what this unit would approximately size and layout. It's a ranch-style duplex, side-by-side, 1 story. We did do a code review here, comparing the R1 requirements to the RT requirements to the proposed. So you can look at, like, for building height, all three, R1 and RT both allow 2 stories, 25 feet. The proposed building is 1 story and less than 25 feet. Setbacks, minimum 40-foot front setback in the R1, the 30-foot setback in the RT proposed is 30. The west side and east side, in the R1, you only have to have an 8-foot side setback, and then the total of the two sides has to equal 20. In the RT, you actually have to have 30-foot side setbacks, and then effectively it ends up being 60 the way it adds up. There's not a specific total sides. They are proposing a 20-foot. This would require variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. The reasoning behind that is they didn't want to put the driveways for the middle units side by side. They wanted to leave a gap between them because side by side driveways they can work, but they can be a source of conflict between neighbors. I've lived in a house that had one time, and I saw some of that. Rear setback 35, the requirement in the RT is 30. They're actually proposing 140. Minimum unit size, R1, 1,000 square feet, RT, 1,000 square feet. The units being proposed are 1,000 square feet. Site area, for 4 units, if you had like 4 single-family homes being built on separate lots, you'd need 36,000 square feet. It'd be 9,000 square foot per unit. The RT has an interesting calculation. It's 2,000 square feet per room, 80 square feet and larger per unit. And the way that adds up from that floor plan that was provided, they needed 32,000 square feet. The site itself is 36,809, a little over that 36,000. That doesn't include the part that's being rezoned on the other half lot area, but the actual development site. So it meets the same, if you built single family homes on single lots, it's about the same, the density is very similar. You end up with 4 homes on 36,000 square feet, one way or the other. This is the alternate where they wouldn't need a variance, where they could do the 30-foot perimeter setbacks, but they end up with that in the driveways for the 2 middle units end up side by side. They end up with no gap between them. And like I said, that can be functional, but it can also get a little awkward. And I believe the petitioner is present. If they would come forward, please.
Please again state your name and address for the record, and any additional information you'd like to add about your project.
Yep, Maximilian Neuser at 21,300 Wallace Drive here in Southfield. And yeah, that's very accurate. That's almost exactly what I would explain, so I don't really have too much more to input. Happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Planner Crowe.
Yeah, I know one of the concerns from the neighbors is traffic generated. Mr. Pace and I looked at the Institute of Traffic Engineers. The average daily traffic for a single family is 9.57. They could build 2 single-family homes. That's 18, 19 trips per day if the 2 single families.
I've actually got it in the recommended motion. It would be 2 detached single-family homes would be 19.14 trips, average average annual daily trips, whereas 4 attached single-family homes would have an average annual daily trips of 23.44.
So my point is, it's a slight increase, 4 additional trips, that means 2 out, 2 in. It's not double the number if it was 4 single-family units.
The attached homes typically have fewer cars and fewer people living in the households. They tend to be smaller houses.
And based on lifestyle, fewer trips. The other thing I just wanted to mention that if you look at the scale and the size of them, they're very comparable to the single-family units in the area. And the setbacks, everything can, now, we're only considering the rezoning right now, but we feel comfortable that the scale, size, density can fit into that neighborhood, and especially if it's positioned properly where a number of the mature trees can be saved, that there'd be little impact or a noticeable impact on the neighborhood. One of the things, as you know, at our joint planning commission meeting, council wanted us to explore accessory dwelling units, more of the middle missing housing, tiny homes. And this is a niche that falls in that general category of providing more affordable housing, even though these will be market rate, affordable in the sense that the rents tend to be more achievable for more people. So we've spent a lot of time looking at this and being sensitive to the concerns of the neighbors. So I just wanted to add those comments as you discuss this further.
The only other comment I would make, Mr. Chairman, is that because this would be, if it were rezoned to RT, this would require site plan review for these units to be built. So after the rezoning, then it would have to go through site plan review, and buildings of less than 3 units each in the RT, actually, those still have to go to city council. So you would still be, in this case, a recommending body in site plan review to the council, because if you build single-family or 2-family homes in an RT, that requires a special approval. That's not one of the things being changed in the amendments, because the RT really is more traditionally, we've used it for more attached townhouses, typically 3 to 6 units per building. But we did want to leave some flexibility where you had smaller properties where you were doing infill development for just this sort of fit, if it works in the neighborhood. So even if the rezoning is approved, it still has to go through site plan approval. They have to go through another step where these plans get further refined and better defined to the point where you're really nailing down exactly what it's going to look like. These are models that are of the type being suggested and that would fit.
Okay, thank you.
If I make a comment, duplexes are the intent. We're not going to be doing townhouses.
I can't hear you.
Wait, can you say that again? Yeah, we couldn't
So
hear you.
duplexes are definitely the intent. We're not looking at building row houses.
Okay.
It would be, I guess, an option if you had more width of property in the future, if you continued to acquire.
It's mostly financial that we're not doing it. It also doesn't fit the neighborhood at all. Ironically, it would actually be easier to comply with the design requirements doing a row house, but we're intending for duplexes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Martin?
The rezoning of the lots and then the addition of the partial lot on the Midway area, is that going to make that lot non-conforming?
No, we did check that. They would not be able to build any more accessory structures in the back part of their lot, the Midway lot, but I did talk to the owner about that. He has no intention of building. Because you go from that minimum 8-foot setback for those accessory buildings to a 30-foot, it effectively eliminates any new structures in that back part of the lot. But I explained this in great detail to the property owner on Midway, and he was fine with it. He understands fully what he's getting himself into. It doesn't make anything non-conforming. It just means he can't build any more structures back there in the back part of the lot.
You're talking the lots on the.
The lot Midway, yeah,
Midway.
the partial rezoning lot on Midway.
Could you bring that
Yeah.
site up?
Yeah.
Just visually.
Yep. So this back 91 feet, yeah, he wouldn't be able to build any accessory buildings back there.
The the owner to the north, you're
Yep,
saying?
on
The
Midway.
owner to the top, okay,
Yeah,
so
the owner on
this
Midway.
project is in red, shown in red on this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, that partial lot,
That part-
the other applicant who owns the Midway lot, who agreed to participate on the rezoning, I was on the phone for him an hour and explained that in great detail to him, and he's a builder, so he understood,
Okay.
and he had no concerns. Well, he is here if you want to hear from him directly, the other property.
Okay.
I guess what's really confusing to me is that you have two lots, and you're using a third lot to make the two lots conforming, or.
Yeah, to get over that 1 acre minimum to avoid spot zoning, it really is, it's a legal workaround, but it is a little strange to partially rezone another lot to actually make this happen. And I know that they spoke to several of the neighbors, and they found one that was contiguous who would agree.
And if I could, there are a number of situations, especially in non-residential, where you have multiple zoning districts over a single parcel. So it's not unusual in that sense. And in order to make it comply, we had to have a minimum 1 acre contiguous lots. We would not be in favor of this if that made that parcel on Midway non-conforming. But their remaining lot is conforming for single family.
Yeah, it would still meet all the dimensional requirements.
So the lot that's not attached to the Midway lot is going to be conforming because it's still considered part.
Yeah.
Yes.
In all practical purposes, if you went out there, you would not know the difference. Physically, the property's not changing. It's a zoning designation. It's the overlay of that parcel.
Yeah, the only real impact is the increase in that back part of that north lot from an
Just
8-foot
makes-
minimum setback to 30, which effectively, because the lot is 75 feet wide, leaves you 15 feet in the middle that's potentially buildable for, say, a shed. But I believe he already has I think he has a garage and a shed already, if I remember correctly, looking at the aerials. So he wasn't intending to build any further structures.
No further questions at this time.
Commissioner Wells.
I think that was my questions, but I have no further questions on the zoning. Thank you.
Commissioner Gerber.
There are going to be no garages with your units, just driveways?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to verify that. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Dill, yeah.
I don't have any questions.
You did say, I'm sorry, thank you. You did say you would have driveways, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many cars can the driveway accommodate?
So it's required at least 1.5 cars by code, but 2 are intended to fit there.
Okay. Thank you. No more
And again, if I could, this is similar to the Habitat side-by-sides that were previously approved by
Those
Planning
driveways are
Commission.
approximately 55 feet long, and it's 18 feet is a parking space, so they definitely could fit 2 cars up in those driveways.
I think this is really interesting, and it's something that we don't have a lot of in the city of Southfield, or really any. There's some new buildings being built of a duplex or a 2 to 4 unit. Seems to be too many old high-rises that are kind of run down. There's a bunch of single-family homes that are maybe too big for people to stay in if they can't take care of them in their older age. We talk a lot about missing middle housing, and I think this is a step towards it. And it's new to everybody, I think, around here, in this city at least. It's very common in many other cities around. So I think it's really interesting. The leftover lot to get you to 1 acre, really it's trees and it's a landscape buffer. That's the good part about it. It's just the land underneath the zoning changes, but what's growing up from the land, which can't be a building, as they've said, because of the shape of it. You know, so it's a good thing. It's a landscape buffer between your neighbor, like it always was. It's a heavily treed area. So it's interesting. You said many times you want to fit into the neighborhood visual, and I think it does. It's the right size of a building. If this reverts someday back to a single family house, it's still only like 2,000 square feet, which financially might not make sense, but, you know, somebody could buy two and make it a house at the end of the day. I think, like, the future to have a garage is important to consider on these sites, which further, you know, proves your goal of spreading them out farther so that you could have individual driveways that could drive, you know, to a detached garage beyond, maybe even a one-car garage. Just, it's a small unit. I don't think you have a basement, so there's not a lot of space to store anything. And people like things. There's a self-storage, you know, there's a perceived or actual self-storage, you know, need around a city of this many people in this size, so that's a different debate.
We did think about that a little bit. In the future, if this was all successful and executed, if we were to add garages to the site, they would likely be extended off the rear of the house. Because we have the setback requirements we'd have to adhere to, it'd be easiest just to attach them to the houses. So
And
yes,
so-
that is a future upgrade plan.
Okay. That would have been my one comment, if we were talking about the specific site plan today, that you should try to fit a garage someday. All right, well, it's an interesting project. Is there any other comments from the commission? No? We have a
So again, we're just making a recommendation on the rezoning, not on the site plan
Yep,
or
that'll
the
come back
layout.
later. Yeah, let me just, one more slide, here we go. Yes, the planning department recommends favorable recommendation of PZR 24-0006 to rezone 1 acre of land, actually slightly over, on 8 Mile and Midway, from R1 single family to RT attached single family for the following reasons. The Southfield Comprehensive Master Plan indicates moderate density single family for these properties, which calls for single family homes on lots less than 20,000 square foot and permits complementary small scale institutional uses. And what people forget is single family homes can be attached. They don't, it doesn't say detached single family homes, it just says single family homes. So townhouses, which are occupied by a single family, are still single family homes. It's just one of those distinctions. When ordinances mean to, they'll say attached or detached when they mean to make that distinction. The ITE trip generation manual, the average annual daily trips for 2 detached single-family homes is about 19.14 trips, while the AADDT for attached single-family homes is expected to be 23.44. The small increase in trips with 2 additional residents is understood to be the result of smaller households typically living in attached units, having fewer people and fewer cars per dwelling unit, and as Planner Crowd mentioned, somewhat different lifestyle choice. So we're not expecting a heavy amount of additional cars or traffic compared to 2 single-family homes. The proposed rezoning from R1 to RT would permit the infill construction of 2-family attached residences consistent in scale and configuration to the single-family homes in the area, similar to prior rezonings nearby on Westland.
I have a motion from the planning, do you have a question or motion?
Oh, I'm sorry, I have a motion.
Go for it.
Motion to approve PZR 24-0006.
Support.
We'll get a favorable motion by Commissioner Martin, supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Good luck. So their next step is city council?
Yeah, it'll be August 19th for discussion and then August 26th for the public hearing. So the public will have an opportunity to speak at that public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll send another set of notices. We'll go out as well to the public so they'll know about the hearing.
Okay. All right,
Thank you very much.
all set, thank you.
Good luck.
All right, back, next item is 19111 West 10 Mile Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a mixed-use corridor district rezoning. It's taking an office building that has fallen into substantial disrepair on 10 Mile, using our new mixed-use corridor district overlay district to try to repurpose that facility, get it renovated, give it some new life. They're looking to convert it to a mix of commercial up along the 10 Mile frontage and then multi-use residential apartments on the upper floors. The current zoning is OS, office service, most of that corridor. Future land use map has it as local mixed use, which would be consistent with the office service or the mixed use corridor district specifically. Site aerial, just showing the office building as it sits, surrounded by a large parking field. And then a general arrangement of that parking field on that site, also with the neighboring homes kind of outlined in that bottom right corner, just so you can get a distance. The one home directly behind would remain about 140 feet from the office building. This is what the building looks like now. From far as you can see the facades getting into disrepair. On the sides here. And then we do have the site plan, just showing the general layout of the parking. The building itself is going to be opened up in the middle somewhat to sort of change the size of the units and provide air and light windows in the interior where the residential is. The commercial will be along the front. There's a little plaza, additional landscaping, dumpster enclosure, pedestrian connections, bike racks, the usual improvements we see on sites being upgraded. This is the landscape plan, colorized. You can see the landscape along 10 Mile there being improved greatly. You got some parking lot landscaping going in as well, and then some in that opened up courtyard area in the middle of the building. This is just the first floor plan. So you see the first floor, you've got the commercial units up there on the 10 Mile side, and then you've got the core providing some support uses and access to the upper floors. Second floor, there's some color coding on the different sizes of units here, but these are apartments, and then you've got the core with some additional support uses and access. Third floor, similar. And then these are the elevations. The elevations of the building. It's going to get a fairly substantial makeover on the exterior. Rendering, just kind of how that's actually going to be a little more visual with this look at, with the landscaping included, the plaza in the front. You can see the parking still tucked underneath there off to the right side there. This is that plaza area with the commercial frontage on the front, 10 Mile. This is from, I believe, the rear of the building, south side, looking into the parking into the core area. These are you can see the bridges and the covered bridges and the corridors around to access the apartments and the little plaza area around the core of that building. Here's the actual balcony areas that go around and access the apartments. There's a good shot showing the bridges areas that are covered on top, all the way down to the courtyard underneath, allowing all that daylight to get down into all those windows, both in the core and in the apartments, really opening that up. This is the rooftop garden. There's a skylight there in the middle that goes down to the floor below, but there's also, if you notice, there's that screen kind of around there, both for privacy and safety on that upper floor. It looks like it's about, I would say, 4.5 to 5 feet tall. So that really does kind of keep that space a little more insular and a little more private. This is a shot just kind of showing you what your view would be looking over the side of that wall if you were to go to one side. Yeah, you can see the roofs of the other houses, but not a lot because of the way the angle is and the trees. Now, if that was open, it'd be different, but with that 4.5, 5 foot tall screen, it really does kind of limit your sight lines. I believe the petitioner is present, if they come forward.
Please again, give your name and address for the record, and if you'd like to add any additional information about the project.
Hi, my name is Jessica Rieger. I'm here representing JSN at 3856 12 Mile in Berkeley.
Just speak up.
Oh, sorry.
You got to be fairly close to the mic here to get it to pick
Not
up,
you.
unfortunately.
Okay,
It's
I'm sorry.
adjustable.
Yeah, you can kind of do this. I think you bring it down a little bit more, and you need to be about 2 inches from it.
Okay, am I better now? Sorry.
It's okay.
Again, Jessica Rieger from JSN. I here representing, we want to bring life back to this building, the building on stilts, as I've learned it to be regarded as. And I believe everything was covered, so I can answer. Oh, sorry. I am also here with my principal and owner of the building. So yeah, I can answer questions, and they can jump in when I get stumped.
Okay, thank you. So this one, the public hearing is tonight?
Yes, sir.
Just to confirm, since we've had so we need to open the public hearing now?
Yes, sir.
And then return to the count. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Could you please have a seat nearby? This is a public hearing. I'd like to open up the public hearing for this item at this time. Any members of the public here wish to speak on this item, please come forward. You'll have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, Niani Barracks, 19150 Edison Drive, Southfield, Michigan.
Could you speak up a little bit?
Can you hear me? Niani Barracks, 19150 Edison Drive, so I'm directly behind the building. And I don't know if I missed it, but I think last time I just mentioned the landscaping, which you show the wall, but that picture with the trees, is that, I'm not sure if that's current or what it's going to be, because there's no trees between my house and that building. My view from my kitchen is the building. My neighbors to the left and the right have trees. I'm the house right in the center of the building. There's no trees. One of the neighbors' trees was pretty large, and the branch kind of slightly covered a little bit of the building. Unfortunately, maybe a couple of weeks ago, that tree fell down into my property. So right now, we're just looking dead at this gray building. And as I said before, that was a huge concern for me because the wall that separates us from the building currently is pretty short. It looks tall, but like, I want to say yesterday, there was probably some people on site, and I could see everything from my kitchen. The cars pulling up, guys walking around the property, having conversations. As I said it last time, I've seen music videos and photo shoots in that parking lot. So that's my only concern. I'm happy that the building is getting a facelift, obviously, but that part of us not having trees, and we've tried several times to plant trees. It looks like the previous homeowners also tried to plant trees, but the deer just won't let us with the resources that we have. So we have like 2 baby trees that have been babies for the past 2 years. That was my only concern.
Through the chair, if I could ask, is this your home here? This one right
Yes,
here?
yes, it is.
Okay, so that is the gap in the, you can see in
Yeah.
the aerial photo, the gap in the tree cover along the wall. Looks like the other homes here have fairly substantial tree cover, but that lot is lacking. Just wanted to make sure we clarified that for everybody.
Yeah. Yep, both neighbors have trees, really big trees. We actually have 1 tree on the property, but it's not big enough to cover that. So we open our kitchen window. It's the building. For the most part, it's been empty, but now there's tons of people in and out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public wish to speak on this item? See none. Close the public hearing portion of the meeting. Open up to the commission for comments. Commissioner Martin?
The petitioner, you want to come up, respond to questions, please?
Okay, we're gonna mix it up. Commissioner Bernuti, you get to start first.
Well, first of all, I'm really happy to see that there's going to be something on this property. It's been empty for quite a while. Pardon me. The outside, the back wall there, it's a low cement kind of wall. Are you going to be doing anything when you do all of this? Will you be taking care of the cement structure and all of that, as well as all of this beautiful pictures we're looking at?
It's not, if it's broken, we'll fix it.
Yeah.
And as of right now, I haven't inspected the wall, but for right now, we haven't talked about doing anything with the wall as of yet.
Well, through the chair, I mean, since this is a mixed-use development district, to address the neighbor's concerns and maybe your concerns, we can incorporate some additional screening, raising the wall, planting of landscaping, that it would be appropriate conditions to this. So I'd like to have a discussion with the applicant and the owner about addressing those concerns. I think those are legitimate concerns. If it's a low 4-foot-high wall, I don't know, then maybe we recommend that it gets built to 6 feet. Maybe there's some parking spaces that can be relocated or removed. We can plant a couple trees. Maybe they'd be willing to plant a few trees on the neighbor's backyard. I mean, those are items that we've worked out in the past that aren't cost prohibitive. So I think that's something I've made a note that I'd like to have addressed before it goes to council.
Thank you. Also, I think it was asked at our last session about the EV parking or parking underneath. Will you have access to the EV parking, and how would you handle that?
We have not considered EV parking as of right now. We do not plan, if there are to be, that they're not under the building. They'll be located on the outer edges of the property for safety.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Goodwin.
I'm just excited. And Director Crode addressed the issues that I had was for the neighbor. But I am really excited. I was bragging about this project to my daughter this weekend. Okay, so that's how excited I am, because it is an eyesore right now, and very happy that you're, repurposing this building, because it is a beautiful building. The design is beautiful, but it needs some work. So I can't wait to walk my dog past and say, oh, wow, look at this.
Commissioner Gruber.
I agree, but I also want to address the neighbor's concerns, and we want her to be happy too. So as long as you do that, it sounds like a good plan.
Of course.
Commissioner Willis.
Thank you. I asked if you had intended the units to be condos or to be market rent kinds of units.
We're attending apartments only. We're not considering condos or condominiums. We're just apartments.
Okay. I think that's my question. Thank you.
Commissioner Martin.
And you've color-coded the apartments so that you can readily identify the the 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom studio product and things. Okay, which is nice. I still have a concern about the bridges going across. The second and third floor, no, the second floor is covered. Is there a cover over the third floor?
Yes. Yes, all bridges are covered so that they're protected from the weather in all cases.
Okay, they're covered, but not, the sides are open.
Correct.
So you just fight the weather in rain or snow or.
We're hoping that it being interior, that the core will help block some of any sideward rain or floating snow. That it'll be, because there's such a small space for it to enter, that the roof covers will be able to stop what does come in.
What type of length are the bridges from the edges to the center, I guess?
Yeah. 15 feet, 15, 20. I haven't measured them recently, but it's about that.
Okay. No further questions at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Willis.
Yeah, relatively straightforward. Assuming council approves of this, how long before you start, and how long do you think it will take the project from start to finish?
I don't have a direct timeline about when it'll start. We're still looking through numbers and, talking to contractors to see what all this project entails. We do have the owner, so.
Yeah, could you state your name and address for the record?
Hello, my name is Shmuel Barocas. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, 2827 Forest Mill Lane. We appreciate all the support. I don't know if, everything, but yeah, once we have kind of an outline from you guys what we would need on top of what we're proposing, we're gonna be able to put a better plan together for exactly the timeline and things like that. If everything's economical and works out on our end, we want to get it done as quickly as possible. So I can't imagine more than a year.
Okay. Do you have any idea who your potential tenants are? Anyone that's asked about it, or if you build it, they will come kind of approach?
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. Obviously, once we have our approvals, we'll go kind of into more detail on everything.
Okay.
Sorry. I do want to add that L2 is also just down the road. Not saying that we're going to want Rousey adults-ish around, but I am also an L2 alum, and when I moved out on my own, it was nice finding an apartment nearby. And I'm not a partier, I studied all the time. But so I expect the community and maybe some outside of the community that are coming for schooling might be interested.
I think the last time we were here, it was a open discussion whether or not you would have EVs parked, and we discussed the fire hazard, and I like your response today. Do you think you'll have EV stations there? I mean, charging stations on site? Is that a plan, or do you have any idea where that's going?
Currently, it's not in the plan as of yet, so I am unsure if that will come into play as of now.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I'm good.
Planner Crowe?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this project. When we created the mixed-use corridor district, this is exactly the adaptive reuse that I had envisioned and hoped for, plus some. I like the fact that they have retail on the front. They're doing this adaptive reuse of this mid-century modern building that has sat vacant and dilapidated for a long time. They're opening up to these great interior spaces, a courtyard, the rooftop, and it's within walking distance of our core city center. I think this is going to be an attractive apartment complex that will rent out quickly because of all the unique design features, the walkability, the fact that, you know, depending on what retail, go get a coffee or a sandwich, just go downstairs. And it takes a building that has been an eyesore for quite some time. And I love the materials, the modern approach, even the etching of the screen on the roof. Those are amenities that anybody would love. We don't have enough of these unique housing options. While the owner is here, though, I'm hoping, I'd like to hear a commitment that you'd be willing to work on the screen wall and address, why don't you come on up, address the neighbors' concerns. In the scope of this big project, I don't think it's going to be of substantial. In many of these older walls, the 4.5 feet poured in place concrete stamp, they're very dated, and I'd like to see some investment in there, and even if it's a combination of the wall with a nice residential fence, that's something I'd like us to address before the next meeting. And maybe there's some unique areas we can be creative with some landscape planting in addition to the screen wall. But I'm really excited about this, and I think having this, if this is all successful, this very first one happening will just help the entire corridor and have people take a second look at some of these older, tired buildings along this corridor.
I want to just piggyback on a lot of things Planner Crowe said. This one, I drive by constantly, think about, you know, what you could do to it. And you're doing a lot of the, I think, really essential things, carving holes through the building, getting light through, getting it kind of down to the right size for residential units. I think that makes a lot of sense. The putting the first floor retail is a must-have. It's a mixed-use district after all. I'm a little concerned about just how short that building appears. I don't know how tall it really is. Do you know, did you verify? Is it like 9 feet? Is it 7'9" or?
So we all went to the building earlier today and just did a quick walkthrough, showed the owner around a little bit. And it is quite short, and we did talk about dropping the floor only for the retail, maybe because in the front, there is a hill, but the sidewalk out front is lower than where the parking lot level is. So we have thought about dropping it to the same level to give more headroom for the retail.
Yeah, it has to be retail, but I just hope that doesn't limit your prospects of who you're gonna get. Just looking at the site plan, it looks like you might touch 4 neighboring residential properties, 4 or 5. I'm always in favor of buying your neighbor a tree because you have parking right up against your fence and then paving. There's just nowhere to plant a tree big enough to block the building, but if you put the tree 20, 30 feet onto their property, if they'll allow it, that's something the city can help coordinate. It'll be a lot more effective in giving privacy and the separation between the commercial and the residential. I like I guess kind of wild exterior that you have. My concern is that looks very expensive to me. What's plan B? If this interesting custom siding is too expensive, because it's a mixed-use district, we're approving this design. What if they have to scale back the budget? So
I have some administrative approval authority. However, they're going to have an art requirement, and the building itself could qualify as the art.
Okay.
So I'm hopeful, one way or the other, they'll figure out a way to do it. And once you've showed this to us, there's no going back, so.
Right.
Of course, we are talking to a company to help us with that, but as you can assume, it's very expensive. But our contractor today that we're talking to said, we can do it. We can cut it out. We can make it happen. So we're going to find a way.
Okay. And the other thing too, one of the greatest parts about this is the rooftop deck, also very expensive, structurally reinforcing the building, but I think very important to a sea of asphalt kind of a lot right now to go from an office building that's been obsolete for a long time to a desirable place to live, and I think it will be because it's so close again to the city center. Those are the key pieces of the design that I think we just have to happen because this is going to be the example project for all the adaptive reuse. So not a lot of other buildings like this wide, this big and everything, but this has a chance to be really make a meaningful impact on this corridor. So I'm very excited about it too. I hope it what was the word you said? If economical. That's a dangerous couple words, but I wish you all the best of luck on this, and I hope it happens the way it's designed. Commissioner Martin.
One last comment is, that the city likes the idea of that building being renovated. They're already reconstructing 10 Mile for you.
It's a pure joy to live with every day.
To the chair.
We need a recommendation from the planning department first, and circle back to you.
I'll summarize here. This is a favorable, we are recommending favorable consideration of this rezoning to MUCD mixed use corridor from OS. The comprehensive master plan calls for local mixed use, and the commercial and the residential fit that category nicely. Proposed utilizing the mixed use corridor allows the petitioner to develop the property for land uses compatible with the abutting developments, and some flexibility to get this property back into reuse under a mixed use corridor development agreement. Proposed rezoning will not have adverse effects on the surrounding zoning districts or land uses. Building and site improvements will be constructed in accordance with the master development plans approved as part of the rezoning prepared by JSN Architecture. And the petitioner is to work with the planning department and city attorney to finalize mixed-use corridor district development agreement. And if we'd like, we could add though hopefully be resolved by city council, a condition that The developer worked with the city staff in terms of addressing the screening issue along the residential.
Yep,
I agree. I would make that as a item 6.
absolutely. Commissioner Martin, with the addition of item 6 as stated.
With the addition of item 6, I'd like approve PZRMUCD 24-0001.
Second.
Support.
Second.
Okay, so we've a favorable motion by Commissioner Martin, supported by Commissioner Bernuti. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Thank you. And please be in contact with the planning department for the items that we mentioned.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good luck.
All right, next is special land use and site plan review at 25826 Southfield Road.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are looking at special land use and site plan approval for an existing gas station, Zone B3, that would like to, now that it is possible, under the amendment passed last year, for them to add beer, wine, and liquor sales to their convenience store, 25826 Southfield Road. Their daily operations are Sunday through Wednesday, 6 to 11, Thursday through Sunday through Wednesday, Thursday, I guess, through Saturday. I got to correct that note there. 6 to 12. Number of employees 5, max per shift 3. They are looking at the site itself is Zone B3. That is consistent with the local mixed-use master plan designation. Just an image we've been including in all these applications showing where the other beer, wine, and liquor sales are. That intersection, there's just the one inside Southfield. There may be some across the border in the neighboring communities, but the nearest ones in Southfield are to the south at 10 Mile and the Southfield, which we dealt with the gas station, and there's a liquor store and the Dollar General and the CVS nearby. And just noting the site area here, we've got the existing service station. Some photos of the site and the building, existing condition. Site landscape plan, there's going to be some the typical improvements, the striping for a pathway for pedestrians, ADA pathway for pedestrians to the door from the sidewalk being improved. Landscape will be freshened up. Bike racks are being added. Just sort of the typical sort of minor improvements we see on these sites as they're just adding this extra use to the existing facility. They're not proposing any building additions. There will be some interior reconfiguration for their shelving. We do have a floor plan here that shows the cashier service area with the liquor shelves behind, beer, some of the coolers being reassigned for beer, and an open air cooler on the floor that may also have some beverages in it. Elevations are the existing ones in the building. The petitioner did provide some interior photos showing the configuration as it is now. And I believe the petitioner is present, if they would come forward.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Ken Moreland, 29895 Greenfield Road. I'm with Dorch and Martin and Associates. We're the architects representing the applicant, Mr. Andrew Atisha, who is here with me this evening. I believe that Mr. Payson hit all of the high points of what we're here for as far as requesting a special use approval in order for the existing gas station to sell beer, wine, and liquor. The exterior will not be modified at all. The interior will be modified to accommodate the new merchandise, including a new storeroom, so that they have enough storage. With that, I would open it up to any questions or comments that the commission might have.
Thank you.
We do have a public hearing on.
Yeah, this is a public hearing. I'd like to open it up at this time. If you could step back for a minute. If there's any members of the public here tonight that wish to come forward and speak on this item, please approach now. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Open it up to the commission for comments. Commissioner Martin.
The floor plan you have in the store that are in the photo, that's current?
I believe I provided existing photos for how the store is looking right now. The photos you see up there is somewhat the inspiration of what I want to turn it into.
Turn it into,
So this is the proposed floor plan.
yeah, and the other photos are
Yeah, of the existing.
Are existing.
Not the ones he showed up there,
No,
but
can you go to the
Yeah, these were inspirational photos. These are
Those are
not the
inspirational.
existing.
these are
Okay.
inspirational.
This is what they would
photos.
like the interior to look
okay,
like.
so currently, are they service bays or just,
No, it's a full-size C-store, around 2,400 square feet.
okay, that's what it, all right, okay, I understand now. I have no question, no.
Mr. Willis?
Thank you. I'm very comfortable with this process now, but I'm always concerned with if there's a need to increase security. Generally, the applicants will say, I don't need to increase security, but I'm going to assume that you have a relationship with Southfield Police, that you have security methods online at this point, maybe even cameras, those kinds of things. Am I correct in that?
Yes, you are correct.
Okay. And I'm going to also assume you don't feel a need to increase that. You feel that the security measures you have so far are sufficient?
Yeah, they're sufficient.
Okay, okay. Does this, and I'm not sure if I'm getting to the business side, does the selling of this product, does it increase your insurance at all?
Yeah, we do have to purchase liquor liability insurance in order to carry these products.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much.
Mr. Gruber?
No questions.
Mr. Goodwin,
Yes, in the recommendation or the description that you said, the times. In here, it has Sunday to Wednesday, 6 to 11, and then Thursday to Sunday, 6 to 12. Is it Sunday to Wednesday, 6 to 11? Or Thursday to Saturday, 6 to,
Yeah, it's probably a typo on our part. It's probably the Thursday through Saturday is the 6 to midnight?
Yeah, Thursday to Saturday till midnight.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
No,
apologies.
can you ask them to clarify all the total hours by day, so we get them correct?
Yep. I will correct that on the slide, and I think is it on the data sheet correctly? Let me double check. Make sure we correct it wherever we need to correct it.
In the recommendation, it's not.
Oh, yeah, it's wrong on the data sheet too. That's probably how I carried over. Cut and paste job, let me correct that there.
Okay.
And then we'll collect on the recommendation as well. Thank you.
That's all I have.
Mr. Bernuti?
Yes, with the addition of the beer and wine, will you require additional employees?
Yes, of course.
Pardon me?
Yes.
How many?
Right now, there's about 3 there. With the addition of the new products, it'd probably be around 5, maybe 6, depending how it gets, but for sure 5.
Okay. That's my only question. Thank you.
Okay. We've all said this before, we've reviewed a fair amount of this change in the zoning ordinance. Your presentation answered all of our questions before we had them, so I think I'm satisfied with the project as presented. Could we have a recommendation from the planning department?
Yes, sir. First up is the recommendation on the special land use to add the alcohol sales to the existing service station at 25826 Southfield Road. We are recommending favorable recommendation. It does appear to meet the criteria for the B3 district, size and character and harmony and appropriate, orderly development in the general business district, location, size, intensity, periods of operation, unlikely to create nuisances or other problems nearby, to accord with the spirit and purpose of the chapter, and is consistent with sound planning. The vehicular traffic will not have an adverse effect on detrimental surrounding thoroughfares, as the service station C-store already operates in this location. Proposed uses of such character should not create any adverse impacts from noise, dust, dirt, glare, or fumes, being an internal addition. Proposed use will not have adverse to the promotion of health, safety, and welfare of the community. And proposed use is designed to operate safely and securely for the employees and the public. Once again, recommendations based on the documents before you. Subject to the approval of the site plan by the city council for conditions and continuous compliance with code law, statutes, and permits. Hours of operation, Sunday through Wednesday, 6 to 11, Thursday through Saturday, 6 to 12. And then we just note that alcohol sales are prohibited per state of Michigan between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m., just for clarity.
Okay, so there's two items with this project. Looking first for a motion on the special land use PSLU 24-0015.
Chair, I'd like to ask for a motion for PSLU 24-0015, a favorable motion.
Second.
We have a favorable recommendation by Commissioner Bernuti, second by Commissioner Martin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay, the special land use is favorable. Next, we'd like the planner's recommendation on the site plan review aspect.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are also recommending favorable recommendation of the site plan review for the addition of alcohol sales to the existing gas station and service convenience store at 25826 Southfield Road. Once again, this is a business establishment shall be retail or service establishments dealing directly with customers as a requirement in the B3, which obviously this is. The site plan does not show access, or does show that access is provided from major or secondary thoroughfares, being at a major intersection. It meets this requirement. And the recommendation is based on the documents and representations before you. Conditions are subject to the approval of the special land use by City Council. Subject to the site and building being developed in accordance with the plans before you. And the petitioner is to implement the recommendations made by the Southfield Police Department's Crime Bill Prevention Bureau regarding site security and continuous compliance with applicable codes, ordinance, statutes. I had to make a correction here. The action, it's got down as NC Designers and contracting. It's actually Dorch and Martin. We must have done another cut and paste on that one. I missed the correction on that. So with the correction that the plans are per those created by Dorch and Martin for the project that are before you. I'll correct that before we get it in front of City Council.
Okay. Now we're looking for a recommendation on PSP 24-0012 with corrections noted.
I make that motion
Okay.
for PSP 24-0012.
Okay, thank you. Favorable recommendation by Commissioner Bernuti, second by Commissioner Martin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay, thank you very much. Next step on to
Thank you.
City Council.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is the zoning text amendment, PTZA 24-0004. 0004, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is we discussed this at the last meeting as introduction. It's a zoning amendment related to backyard fowl and beekeeping code amendments, and there will be a general code amendment that goes with it. The zoning amendment, which is what's before you for consideration, would actually delete the provisions related to the beekeeping and chickens out of the residential district, and then it will be amended, the new residential will be amended into the general code. We are going to, after speaking to the city attorney, once we get your recommendation on the zoning element, we're going to take the general code elements, either back to legislative committee or to the neighborhood services committee, one of the two, to get a recommendation to council on the general code provisions. And then it'll go to council for them to act on it. General code provisions, they actually can just do it by a resolution. They actually don't have to hold a public hearing and do two readings. They can actually just do a resolution, enact the ordinance amendment, and then it becomes effective. So what we wanted to show you both halves of it, what you're deleting and what it's being replaced by, so you'd understand, that you're not leaving it open or undefined. There will be, and we would not recommend them go forward with the zoning amendment unless they were also going to do the general code amendment at the same time, at the same meeting, because obviously we don't want to leave a gap in the law. We do note we are changing the minimum setbacks. Right now they're very restrictive. From on-site dwellings 50 foot, from off-site dwellings 175. And we're adding coop and run standards, prohibiting roosters, and putting a cap on number of animals. Beekeeping, now they're only allowed on farms 10 acres and higher. This will provide for hive placement and screening landscape around them, water supplies. Just specifically, we're looking at, we did review for the backyard fowl, we looked at MSU Extension and the Michigan Department of Agriculture had recommendations and model ordinance language. We also looked at neighboring communities' actions and spoke to some of the planners in those communities who've been doing this for a couple of years to get their lessons learned. Beekeeping, we went into some research on that, determined actually, strangely enough, bees are actually easier to keep in terms of not causing a nuisance than chickens are. So the rules are actually relatively simple on those. I'll go over them shortly. But we wanted to make sure, one of the purposes we want to do here, because we have rules in the animals chapter related to this and rules in the zoning ordinance. And while they weren't contradictory, they were a little confusing, and who had authority over it was unclear. So moving it all into the animals chapter makes it very clear. It gives clear enforcement authority to the animal wardens of the city as part of their duties. And it not having it, if it's in the zoning ordinance, you get stuck with legal nonconformities, but in the general code of ordinance, that's not a thing. So should someone be keeping bees or fowl in a way that is a problem, they're not grandfathered. They either have to comply or they have to stop. And the animal warden will have the ability to enforce that. We did meet with the city's legal team, we met with the animal wardens and discussed this, and the city administration. So this first part, which is the zoning amendment, is really just deleting those sections and referring, that first item is referring them to the animals chapter of the general code of ordinance. So if someone looks in the zoning ordinance for keeping of animals, it will direct them to the correct portion of the general ordinance. The zoning ordinance is one chapter in that larger ordinance. We do have the two definitions, one of which we're modifying, as Dr. Stevens-Gunn pointed out, for livestock to make it animals used to produce human food instead of for human food. So that covers chickens laying eggs and bees making honey. And then we added a definition by the request of the legal department for pet to clarify its distinction from animal or from livestock. The general standards we look at affect keeping of any non-pet animals. Not be obnoxious or noisy or otherwise a problem, creating a nuisance. Really, that's just an extension of the nuisance ordinance and the nuisance enforcement powers of the city generally. It's just defining that nuisance a little more clearly. Slaughtering of animals is prohibited, mostly because, not everybody would necessarily handle that in the way that would be appropriate for an urban setting. Animals have to be housed in accessory buildings. They can't be housed in the residence or other principal structures. They have to have their own beehives or chicken coops. They don't really want people turning their basement or a bedroom into a chicken coop. That's not a desirable outcome in most cases. It'd be unlawful to keep any animals within 50 feet of any dwelling other than the dwelling on the same property. So you have to be at least 50 feet from any homes on neighboring properties. You have to be 10 feet from the side or rear lot line, so you can't have these runs or items right up to the property line. And since the typical side setback in the residential district is either 8 or 10 feet, it means it won't be in that required south setback on a residence. We're gonna honor that side setback even with the keeping of these animals. Unlawful for any animal owned or in their possession to run at large, which is a problem with some people who don't manage their chickens. Obviously, that doesn't apply to the bees. There's an exception for that because bees got to go get pollen and nectar. And then I did modify this provision, Mr. Martin, based on making it clear that those places where they're keeping horses already are fine unless they discontinue the practice for a year or more. Then it becomes legal nonconform. It loses its legal nonconformity just like any other nonconforming use would. So anybody who has keeping horses, continues to keep horses, will be able to continue to keep horses. They will remain legal for them. Should it go away for more than a year, then it would be a discontinued practice unless they're on a farm 10 acres and more, which allows the keeping of livestock. Backyard fowl, we just get into some basic rules. We tried to make these like very punch listy and simple, good for enforcement, good for explaining to people what they need to do. No roosters or other fowl typically making noise, so peacocks, probably not going to be a good fit there. Maximum number of fowl, 12. Maximum coop size, 80 square feet. Maximum coop height, 8 feet. And as we did note, at the request of one of the people interested in this, a little taller so they could get in there and clean the coop a little easier. I think I initially had it at 6 feet, but if it's up off the ground a couple feet, now you got 4 feet, you gotta crawl in there, and it made it difficult. And very important, every ordinance I've ever seen and guidance, feed storage must be in a sealed vermin-resistant container. You do not want to be attracting vermin with that. Then we get to beekeeping.
Through the chair, Mr. Payson?
Yep.
Do you have any recommended setbacks for these coop?
Yeah, it's in the general provisions. 50 feet from a dwelling on any other property, 10 feet from the property line. It's in section 1 under general standards. If you're keeping.
I'm just asking, would it either be beneficial to put it under this section or refer back to the general section? I mean, you're being specific about coop size and coop height.
Right.
Just something to look at.
Yeah, when I ran this past Dawn, like, we could have a reference back here. I don't like to repeat provisions, because then if you amend one and don't amend the other, you end up out of sync. But we could put in backyard fowl, like, A could be compliance with the general standards. We could tweak that, just to make people clear that in addition to these, you gotta comply with the general standards. That is how laws are generally constructed, but the public doesn't always understand that. So I could make that modification to make sure we have a very clear understanding of that. Let me just make it very clear on the amendment. We could just do that as an A, referring back to the general standards. We can do that on both. And that'll clarify that for anyone. That way they don't think 2 and 3 are an exception to 1. They understand that 2 or 3 are in addition to 1. It's a good catch. For beekeeping, there were like basically 2 key things you had to do to keep bees and not have them be a nuisance. You needed to surround them with a fence or a hedge that got them to fly above 6 feet, because then they wouldn't be running into people and they would disperse when they're hunting for flowers. This was one of the key ones I got out of the Department of Agriculture, MSU, and reading up on the subject. They're like, look, you've got to get them up above people level, and then they'll disperse. It avoids concentrations, allows them to move around. Second one was water supply. If there's not a water supply near the hive, they'll go looking on neighboring properties for any pooled water. So there has to be a water supply near the hive to prevent them from concentrating in a water supply on another property. If there's water near the hive, they won't do that. They'll use the water near the hive. So that was another key one to prevent them from being a nuisance. And then obviously C was the running at large provisions can't apply to bees because they need to move around and find the flowers for that purpose. So that's an actual exception to the general provisions. But it turned out keeping bees, because most honeybees are actually fairly docile. They're not aggressive. They're not your wasps or your hornets. They are really just looking for their water, and they're looking for their looking for the nectar. The pollen ends up taking a ride on it. They're really looking for the nectar and the water to do their business. So if you can keep up above that 6 feet when they disperse out, and you find the water supply near the hive, they really just don't cause problems. And they'll still need a 50 foot from other residences, the 10 foot from the property line. All of that will still apply. So in this case, it turned out, I thought I was going to have to write some voluminous rules for this, but when I really researched it, it turned out these are actually, like, if you do these 2 things, honeybees aren't really a problem. I mean, I guess but even if you're allergic, like I said, they're not aggressive. You'd actually have to grab one or smack it to get it to sting you. Like, they're not going to do that. Unlike certain ground nesting hornets and wasps, all you got to do is walk near their nest and they will sting you. So those things are bad news, but that's not what we're talking about here. This is for honeybees. This is beekeeping for honey. So that's just basically, that other end will be council approving that, but like I said, that'll be in synchrony with the zoning amendment. And that'll probably, because we want to take it to the legislative or the neighborhood services committee, that will probably happen in August. We'll probably be taking this to council in September. And then become effective probably October. So we really wouldn't see too many people implementing this till probably next year. And I want to put together like some nice one-sheets to kind of like summarize the rules, really easy for people for checklists. Because that way anybody who contacts us interested in doing this, we can go like, well, here's the sheet that explains what you have to do. Just like we do with the tree removal and tree protection ordinances, we have a one sheet that people ask, it's got information about it. We do need a public hearing on this because this is an ordinance amendment.
Okay. This is a public hearing. I'd like to open up the public hearing for PTZA 24-0004 at this time. Any members of the public here tonight wish to come forward to speak on this item, please approach. Seeing none, close the public hearing. Planning Commission, any comments? Commissioner Martin?
None.
None? Mark it.
I have a couple, probably just comment. Looking under definition, 0.63, the first red part, it says pet shall be any animal that you can keep inside a dwelling. So that kind of opens up the door for any animal, let's say, less than 40 pounds. So if you can keep your cougar inside the house, it seems like so long as you can keep him inside, he becomes a pet.
I would say, first of all, we actually have a separate definition for wild animals.
Okay.
And there are specific provisions about not keeping those in the animal ordinance, because there have been problems with that kind of thing.
Okay.
And it says customarily kept or housed inside, so it's, exotic animals that are not customarily kept as pets would definitely be, and like I said, this was reviewed by legal, because no matter how you write this definition, something will fit inside it that shouldn't, and outside of it that shouldn't.
No, I don't mean to correct. I'm just kind of highlighting a couple of things. So I had a friend who owned a snake for a number of years. And according to him, people in Florida customarily keep snakes, and so it becomes a customarily. And let me just be a little sarcastic, offensive. If you have a minor bird that curses,
Well, that wouldn't be backyard fowl, that'd be in your house.
okay.
If you got them living out in your backyard, we might have a problem, especially if he's cursing at the neighbors.
Okay, but that was my only comment.
Yeah.
Chair.
But I think overall, this is great. This is the kind of generic, specific language you have to seek, and so I can see some words will be challenged, but I don't think you can write anything that avoids that.
Yeah, and we always can fall back on the general nuisance language, where if the animal is being a nuisance, you can document the nuisance, you can do enforcement against the nuisance.
I got you.
It's, I always tell you, people underestimate the quite extensive natural power that comes to a municipality that has authority to enforce against nuisances. Our general nuisance language in the ordinance is, they have enumerated examples, but the general nuisance language, anything you can document as a nuisance is potentially an enforceable action.
Okay.
I just wanted to make you aware of a point of information in reference to the beekeeping. For those of you who haven't visited the Mary Thompson Farms, they have 4 boxes over there that's well kept. And I'm allergic to bees, but as you said, as long as there's water or what, we never see them flying around or what. But it would be good if you ever get a chance to just go over to the gardens. I think they're having something in October.
They have a beekeeper that works with the Parks and Rec staff.
Yeah,
And does
they're
hives and does
having an
educational
open
programs.
house for all of Southfield in October to view the gardens, to go through Mary Thompson Farms, and also just to go through the gardens. But the beekeeping, she's been doing that for about 3 years now, and it's just amazing to me. I mean, when I watch her spray those herbs to kind of calm them down like loom. But it's very interesting.
Commissioner Goodwin, Nothing. Commissioner Grube? Nothing. Commissioner Martin, you got?
The state of Michigan has a listing of animals that are allowed or not allowed. I think you might want to reference that along with the pets, so that it covers everything, because you can have certain type of monkeys as pets, but not other types. And you don't have to spell out all the animals that way. You can reference the section where the state has approval or disapproval of animals.
Yeah, I could work with maybe Dawn to find that statute and just cite that section of the state law, consistent with state law, public act, whatever the section. I'll talk to the city attorney and see if we can find that. If you have it, you can just send it to me.
Yeah, I'll send it to you because I looked it up.
Yeah, because that'll just save Dawn and I a little bit of time, close it down, and she can review it and make sure it's an appropriate inclusion.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Not from me. Is there a separate recommendation, or this is?
Yeah, there is a recommendation. This is the zoning text amendment, because a lot of times we've talked about it's going to go into the general code amendment. The zoning amendment is really just deleting the zoning sections and pointing to the new section here. So we are making a favorable recommendation, the draft dated July 12th, 2024, which is really just redirecting and deleting. Proposed text amendment will amend the zoning ordinance, section 5.62B, to delete the provisions on the keeping of animals and add a reference to the chapter 113 animals related to the keeping of animals other than pets. Proposed amendment will modernize and streamline the ordinances to the keeping of backyard fowl and bees while maintaining the development standards of the community. And the proposed amendment will promote orderly development as necessary to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the community. And if we wanted to add another condition that I didn't think to add earlier, but would have been conditioned upon the approval of the chapter 113 amendment in the animal section, so that they're linked, because we don't want one going away without the other getting adopted.
Okay. So I'm looking for a motion on PZTA 24-0004 with the additional item number 4 that the planner just mentioned.
I make the motion, PTZA 24-0004 for favorable.
So the chair,
With the
Oh, do you have a?
modification.
modification,
Oh,
Well, you gotta wait to the motion. Any
yeah, I remember that.
Do you have further discussion now? We've got a favorable motion by Commissioner Bernuti, seconded by Commissioner Willis. Yeah, is there additional discussion?
I would suggest we include the state reference to allowable animals within the state of Michigan.
No, it's support.
Okay.
Do you support that, Mr. Bernuti?
Yes, I do.
And Mr. Wells, do you support that?
Yes.
Okay, we've got the original motion with the addition of item number 4 and the 5th item of the state of Michigan definitions.
Yep, got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay. Meeting minutes for June 5th, June 12th, and June 26th.
We have the meetings before you. The 5th and 12th were given to you previously. The 26th, which is the transcript, was provided in this last packet. We got it on the 17th. We are looking for approval of those minutes.
Any further discussion on the minutes? If not, we'll look for a motion.
Through the chair. I move for approval of our minutes from our meeting of June 6, 2024, June 12, 2024.
June 5th. June 5th.
June 12.
Yep.
I thought I said 5th. Okay.
Said 6.
Okay, I'm sorry. June 5th, 2024, June 12th, 2024, and June 26th, 2024.
Second.
Got a favorable motion to approve the minutes by Commissioner Willis, supported by Commissioner Martin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? All right.
Do you have 2026?
Now we have the public comment section of the meeting. If any members of the public wish to come forward, please approach the podium now. State your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
My name is Calvin Boylston. I live at 20123 North Lockmore, Southfield. I just want to go on the record. I know what the traffic person said, maybe 4 to 7 cars, but I think that area is going to get congested, as Councilman Martin stated. Coming out of 12 Mile, it's going to get congested there. The left turn is only so long, and I think it's going to back up into the other lane. It's not like when you're going east on 12 Mile, you get to Southfield. Well, I know the left turn lane goes all the way back to the condos. You can't do that at 12 Mile, and it's going to get congested. And I just wanted to put my record there, I'll put it on the record that I think that it is going to make it a little bit more congested than what it is now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you people. Ken Morocco, 280
28476 East Larkmore Drive in Southfield. Live 3 blocks from the intersection that we're talking about. Is it possible to put up page 16 with that overview? Thank you. I'm dead set against it. I've lived in this neighborhood for 32, 35 years, something like that. Thank you. Anyway, there's too much traffic there now. You know, when we get this slide up, there's something missing. I'm going to see if you guys can pick it out. But they got that beautiful overview of the slide of where the gas station's going to be. We don't need 3 gas stations. This is all about Kroger's. And I wish the 2 guys were here because I have no qualms about saying that in front of them. As a citizen, if you can take a look at that, what's missing? Traffic. Rush hour traffic at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 11, 12, 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Where's all the traffic? Show me trying to get out of that exit from Little Caesars to get across the boulevard and come back, and that gas station isn't even there yet. It's miserable now. And when that one guy said, oh, it's inconsequential, you're about to drop about $1 million on a gas station. You better hope there's going to be a ton of traffic in your place. I just don't agree with it in any way, shape, or form. Have you ever seen a really good-looking gas station? Never. They're eyesores. They're a necessity. But 3 of them on one small intersection? No way. Sorry. It just doesn't work. It's not logical. It's not intelligent. You've got Evergreen on an antiquated boulevard going across to a narrowed down Evergreen towards 13 Mile. Slows traffic down. Some of the left turn signals, I've been in 3 light changes to make the left turn onto Evergreen where I live. By the time I get home, I need to shave. It's ridiculous to have 3 gas stations, and it only is for Kroger's. It has nothing to do with me. John, do you care? He doesn't care. I got 2 other places to go to. No, please don't do this. They've got Greenfield. They've got a beautiful Kroger's on Greenfield, and that's got a gas station there. They've got plenty of room. Here, we're going to shoehorn a gas station into this narrow little thing. No, I'm sorry. It can only benefit Kroger's monetarily because the Kroger store is old. I'm sorry. It just doesn't fit. Anyway, love you guys. You do a great job. Thank you so much. Picture traffic. Excuse me. Picture traffic in there. Picture all of that at 5 o'clock.
That's exactly your 3 minutes to the dot. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you're fit. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing none, no further public present, we'll end the public comment section.
There we go.
Next item is the council items update.
Yep, just a few items went to council on the 15th. The Grove Kosher Market, the rezoning and site plan was approved. So we're working through final documentation on that. They need to get a variance from the zoning board. That actually is their next step. The 28681 Northwestern Highway, adding the alcohol sales to that station under construction, was approved without much, I would say, without much fanfare, really. It wasn't opposition, even though there was a liquor store right next door.
Well, there was two representatives of liquor stores that came up and spoke against it.
All right.
But it did, I think it got approved unanimously.
Yeah, at this point, it's becoming fairly routine, I think, but 27,000 Telegraphic Glass Kia site plan was approved. They also need variances that we go into the zoning board next. Obviously, the gas station above, they just have to now finish building it. So, Elisha Woods Park was approved, the improvements there. I believe the Parks and Rec is in the process of trying to bid that out and try to get something under construction, hopefully this year.
Yeah, I think they're hoping to get the pathway done first and then the rest of the park done later.
They've been amazing about that, I have to say, because the school, it's horrible. People can't get to synagogue. But the parks said they were going to do that first, which is really a kudos to them.
As I noted when I sent out the email, the site plan review change did pass, and actually passed unanimously, right?
It did. There was some discussion. Mr. Martin was there. There was a little bit of hesitation, but it eventually got passed unanimously. Now, remember, it was approved and introduced. It still has to be enacted on August 19th. So once that is done and gets published, it becomes official.
So we think by the end of August?
Yeah,
I think
Mr.
the
Pace and I
publication
were
will be August 28th
saying
to 29th.
any new applications that come in after September 1st would fall under the new guidelines.
Yeah. And some don't look like they're gonna make it to the commission by then, might also like end up falling into those guidelines. Like if it gets to the point where I gotta do a notice and the ordinance has changed, then we'll just switch it to an administrative or to a regular site plan review that just comes to you for approval. But we would still hold the public hearing here, it's just instead of making a recommendation, you would make final action on the site plan. So some of them will become administrative, some of them, many of them will still come to you anyway. It's just your action at the end of the action would just be actually voting on it instead of a recommendation. So that's going to start changing. Probably you'll start seeing that changing in some of them, possibly September, October. You'll see that start to phase.
I did make a commitment to council that we would report on any action that's taken by the Planning Commission. So they would continue to get that information in their packets, even though they might not be acting on it. So they're aware in case residents call and have questions, they're aware of what's going on. Mr. Pace and I, send the agenda, but we could mark the agenda saying these items were approved and then provide an informational packet separate from the council packet for their information.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably set up a Google Drive for them where they can go look at the stuff if they want to, and then we'll send them an annotated agenda after the meeting that says favorable recommendation approved, denied on each item. So they'll get kind of an after action report as an annotated agenda, and then I'll have a Google Drive set up for them like I do for you for your packets, where they can go look at that material if they're curious as to what exactly was approved. I think it's gonna become fairly routine after a little while. I always say in government, if you can keep something up for 6 months to a year, it's almost like it was always that way. The marijuana sales hours, they held the public hearing but decided to postpone action for some additional discussion, and I think to have the marijuana retailers come in and explain their need for the additional hours in more detail. And they have agreed. I reached out to both Loom and Dreams, and they are going to send people to the council's meeting to do that. Security fencing, the ornamental security fencing one did pass. That was, I think, just a good customer-friendly fix to the ordinance, and it seemed the council agreed with that. So that's all we have on the council update.
Miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous, planning commission meetings in August. We have August 7th and August 28th. So that puts us 2 weeks from today will be the study meeting, and at the end of August, we'll have the actual regular meeting on those items. And then I think that's it.
Commissioner Martin.
Do you receive the regular meeting minutes only as a PDF file?
Yeah, we draft, in Word, we actually draft our minutes for the study meetings. The document that I get from the transcription company is a PDF.
The transcript of the tape.
Yeah, they do the transcript, they pep all that up, and then they give it to me in like there's 4 different versions of the PDF, depending on whether or not, like, they have 1 page per page or 4 pages per page and some other odd ones. We take the most straightforward one with just the signature line at the end because that really fits the format better. Some of those transcript formats are really designed more for legal use.
Yeah.
So they just give us the 4 different outputs, but they're all PDFs. Or other typical image formats. We don't get an editable document. The transcriptionist doesn't want us messing with their stuff.
Yeah.
Because once they've signed off as a transcriptionist, there's a kind of a, their name and professional reputation. I get you. It's just as Planner Crode pointed out, legal really did recommend us going to transcripts in case they have to litigate. And we do have the recording as well, so we do have backup on that.
Yeah. Try proofread a PDF that you can't spell check.
Yeah.
And then if you want to convert it, you still have the line numbers going through the document, so it's a mess.
I almost suspect they do that on purpose to make it hard to convert into a different
Tell
format.
me about it.
I've seen a couple of EV stations. One is on Telegraph, next to Jack's Car Wash and back of a gas station. And I'm wondering, is the process for installing an EV stations, is that one that goes through this, through planning?
It's supposed to come as administrative approval and also the building department, their standards for where they get placed and how they get placed.
And they need an electrical
Now,
permit.
not all of them do that. They just, sometimes we find out about them that they've installed them without any review. Because we want to make sure they're not taking away any required parking spaces, that they have to, at least one set has to be ADA accessible. So we've found situations where they have EV charging stations up on a sidewalk or behind a curb. They're not accessible with no barrier-free access. So we started enforcing that. We're also trying to keep an inventory of knowing where private and public charging stations are. But again, sometimes businesses get them, put them in, think it's a good idea, and don't check with us. But they're supposed to have at least administrative approval, and they're supposed to pull a permit.
If I had one for my house that was approved of, that for the house, can I legally sell it to people commercially?
Well, I don't know how that works.
Okay.
The only home occupation that's permitted is childcare, so
Okay.
you can
Okay.
think about it that way.
Thanks.
I don't think there's gonna be a lot of profit. Paying for electricity.
Yeah, the whole setup, unless you got a lot of business. Okay, that's just good.
Any other comments from the
Tell me
commission?
what's being built on the corner of Bell and 11 Mile?
Oh,
They've
that's
got
the
it-
mikvah.
What is
The
it?
mikvah.
It's a
Mikvah.
ritual bath, a mikvah for Jewish women.
Is it?
Yeah, it was
I know
before
it was.
COVID,
Yeah.
and then COVID hit,
And
and
then
it
it
was
came back.
postponed.
Because I know it had a sign there one time that
It's
said it
still
was
there.
historic.
It's behind the wall now. It's
Yeah,
there,
there
It's
was a
still there.
house there.
Yeah.
Right, they took the house down.
Yeah.
They took
You
the house.
approved it probably 5 years ago, but
Yeah, it's been
because
a
of
while.
I
COVID.
wasn't here.
No, I wasn't here either. Yeah,
So it's part
Yeah.
of women's,
so it's, women have to go there once a month, and it's a ritual kind of thing, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Jewish women,
that's nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
so.
thank you. I've been wondering, because I pass by there all the time.
I have a
I'm
question.
sure you could get a tour
How
afterwards.
many dispensaries can we have? Do we have a number?
Well, the ordinance allows up to 5.
5? Okay.
But in practicality, only 3 can qualify. Now, there has been some gerrymandering at times where if there's a use that prohibits it because of a distance requirement, we have seen some businesses try to relocate that use that is supposed to be buffer, or do some type of lot split lot combination to work around that. But based on our calculations, we're at the maximum of 3 that is permitted under current situations, but our ordinance says up to 5, because the state allows the cities to designate the number of each.
Okay.
And I know that's hotly debated at the council level, but that was the direction that we had. And as I said, we've taken a very measured approach from the first Marijuana Act, the Caregiver Act, to the medical marijuana, to recreational marijuana, and we've looked at all these different scenarios. So the ordinance does allow up to 5, but right now, there's no other, other than the 3 that we have, there's no other site that complies
with that.
under current conditions.
Okay. Another question. How many gas stations with liquor
Well,
are we allowed?
this is what I say, those type of class for off-premise consumption, it's based on population. So
Okay.
based on our population, approximately 77 of those off-premise licenses can be issued.
Okay.
The last I checked, we have issued around 52 to 55 with these new stations. If this was anything but a gas station selling alcohol, if it was a retail operation, a mom and pop, a Kroger's, a liquor store, or any combination thereof that wasn't a gas station, they wouldn't have to come in front of the city. They just apply for their liquor license. from the state. So it's only that the gas station is a special land use, that we kept that as a special land use condition.
Okay.
But in theory, you could have a liquor store next to a retail operation, next to Kroger's, next to another retail operation. They all could sell off-premise alcohol
Okay.
within the guidelines of the population.
Right. Okay.
Just
just wanted to be
a
clear.
note on the marijuana retailers. The third one that was approved, Bloomery, I've been trying for about 6 weeks to get a final set of their approved plans to stamp up, and they're not responding to my emails and calls, so I'm starting to wonder whether or not that project's gonna happen. I know the market, the industry is getting a lot of up and down, and they had to move that check cashing place in order to make, that was one of their conditions, and I don't know if they're having an issue with that, but like, all of a sudden, they're not responding to me at all. It has been about at least a month, almost 6 weeks since, I've reached out to them repeatedly because I would like to stamp these plans up and close this file, because I like to get them out of my office, frankly. And I'm leaving things open just means like somebody else has to straighten that stuff out later. I like to leave a tidy situation behind me. It's just how I am. And they are just not responding to me. And all I need from them is 3 sets of the final approved plans that went to council. That's literally all I need from them to stamp them up, and because the conditions about the check cashing would still apply. I'd put the conditions into the approved plan sets. But I can't even get 3 final plan sets out of them to stamp them up. So, and not even like an email of, yeah, we'll get you that next week, like literally no response. And during the process of getting them through the hearings, if I email them, they responded same day. So I don't know what's going on there.
Isn't that annoying when people don't answer your emails or your phone calls? I go through it all the time
Yeah.
in my job. All
And
the time.
all I'm trying to do is wrap up their approvals and stamp the plan so that like, if they're ever ready to go, the stuff is ready for them. That's all I'm trying to do. It doesn't make them do the project, it just finalizes the approval.
Right.
Commissioner Martin? Oh, okay. I don't have anything else.
Nope.
Seeing no further discussion, meeting adjourned, 8:56.